Hey, this is Jim Marty here.
And Larry Mishkin. And we're here today.
Hey, Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Jim, how are you, actually? Last time we talked, you were getting ready to walk your way into a Phil Lesh concert over at everybody's favorite venue, Red Rocks.
Oh, what a great show.
Was it? You told me it was great.
Yeah, what a great show.
I love that guy. I can go see him all day long.
Yeah.
All day long.
I've never been disappointed with a Phil Lesh show. And at 79 years old, he just played great. He just filled Red Rocks with his bass guitar. The set list was great, a great jack straw. And they did a Comes the Time, which I hadn't really seen performed live in a very long time. In fact, I turned to my son and his girlfriend who were next to me. I said, the last time I saw this song played live, Jerry Garcia was singing, and he was standing right over there.
Right, that's right. Yep. I saw Jerry do it a couple of times, too. In fact, I was at the Greek Theater in '85 when they broke it out, and it just, brought the house down. It's a great tune, and listen, who better to cover it than Phil Lesh, right?
Yeah, what a great guy. He came out and played with the warm-up band. He did 2 90-minute sets and a Terrapin Station encore at 79 years old. And
that's really what's amazing. Think about this, right? I mean, my dad is only a few years older than that, and I couldn't imagine my dad playing rock and roll at all, let alone for, 4 hours at a time.
Yeah, I was joking to the people next to me. One of the younger musicians from the String Dusters, I believe, was who who sat in and filled in the rest of the band, went up to Phil, and they were kind of talking about what song they were going to play next, and I kind of ad-libbed to my group. I said, what are we going to play next, Mr. Lesh? And we're going to play whatever the fuck I want to play at 79 years old.
That's right.
So
That's
anyway,
exactly right.
We should talk about some cannabis stuff and what's been happening in the last week. We've had major developments. We had the license applications came out in Missouri. And we'll talk about that maybe next week once I have my head around it a little more. And then we had some big developments in Illinois this week that maybe Larry can fill us in on.
Well, Jim, I have to tell you, it's like welcome to the big leagues here in Illinois, and we couldn't be more excited after lots of talk and lots of speculation and rumors of every kind you can imagine. Last Friday, we learned that the Illinois House had approved the adult use cannabis bill that was pushed and proposed by new Governor Jay Pritzker. And I was actually out in Boston at the time visiting my son when I got word, and my phone started ringing off the hook, and I was getting more texts than I knew what to do with. And I said to my wife, we better enjoy this weekend because I might not have another one off in a long time. This is just great, though, and what I like about it is it sounds like it's a very reasonable bill in terms of how it's going to work. It has good personal limits for both in-state and out-of-state in terms of what you can purchase at a time. And most importantly, Jim, it's something that you and I talked about previously, is it's got a wonderful social equity component to it that will hopefully get very much involved people who come from those neighborhoods that were disproportionately affected by the war on drugs. We just could not be more excited about the bill here. Really, the only thing that people are wondering is how the heck do I get one of these licenses? And unfortunately, the news I have to give to everyone is that basically for the first year, you're not going to get one. They're going to allow the medical people to run the show with their current cultivation centers, and every current medical dispensary license holder can apply to make their medical dispensary a medical/adult use dispensary, and they can also get up to one additional license for a separate standalone adult use dispensary. So, whether that'll be enough, I don't know. And in fact, that's the first thing I wanted to ask you, Jim, because one of the big issues here is this question of, can the medical people currently keep up with the demand that's anticipated? And I know Colorado kind of did it a little bit differently, but what happened with the demand in Colorado and the ability to service it when adult use kicked in?
Yeah, well, for the most part, the people who had medical marijuana dispensaries saw their sales increase between 50 and 100%. So the cultivation people really had to step up their game and get product to market so it could be sold. When does the adult use program open up in Illinois? When will the first legal adult use cannabis be sold?
January 1st, just a few months off, we're heading in that direction. So what they're doing is the current medical people, within the first 30 days now that the program has been announced, they can go ahead and they can start submitting their applications to expand their current facility into a double use and for the additional license. And from what I know, from talking to some of those license holders, they've already been at this for a while in anticipation of this happening. It's going to be quite a thing. Illinois' medical program has been, I don't want to say a total failure, but not the financial bonanza that any of the license holders imagined it would be, given the severe restrictions in Illinois on becoming a medical patient and the devastatingly low number of patients, even right now, that are actually available and have the ability to go buy the medical cannabis. And now they're going to go from many of these people barely holding on to what we hope will be, a turnaround in tremendous financial success. Illinois will, as soon as this bill passes, Illinois becomes the second most populous state after California with an adult use program, and Illinois' population is double that of Colorado's. And we've seen the numbers that Colorado has brought in. So I got to tell you, this state desperately needs that kind of revenue. And Pritzker has made it a key component of his budget, anticipated revenue from this new adult use market.
Absolutely. Yes, we have, Bridge West has several Illinois clients, and they have really struggled. They had far more production capacity than they had patients on the roll. So that was a huge drag on the Illinois medical marijuana model. So hopefully that will be fixed with this move to adult use. Yeah, the suggestion I would have is to see if they'll allow the cultivators to start a harvest, 60 to 90 days before January 1st, so that they will have enough product on hand come January 1st of 2020.
I think that's going to be the biggest issue I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, you go.
Yeah, what's going to be interesting here is, and in fact, somebody asked me this question the other day. Well, gee, as an adult use, why the heck should I, why do I need my medical marijuana card anymore? I said, well, starting with the assumption that you really did need it in the first place, or however you want to address that situation. But you could speak to this very well, and I've seen it firsthand myself. If you're going into a Colorado dispensary to make a purchase, if you're a patient in the program in Colorado, the price is significantly less. Isn't that correct?
Yes, slightly better pricing, but a very significant difference in the taxes that you pay. Medical cannabis in Colorado is subject to our regular over-the-counter sales tax you would pay for any other item, like a bottle of liquor, 6 to 7 to 8%, depending on how much the local tax is on top of the state tax. So that's the only tax on medical marijuana. On adult use, there's a 15% excise tax when the pounds are transferred from the cultivation to the retail. So if you're retail only, there's a 15% excise tax. Because we have slightly overproduction here in Colorado and falling prices, that excise tax has been pushed back onto the producer. So if a producer has his costs down to, $300 or $400 a pound, he's got to add another $150 onto each pound for the excise tax. So if you're producing for $450, your true cost when you pay the excise tax is $600 for that pound. And that's true even if you transfer it internally from your grow to your dispensary on an integrated model. So my clients in Denver who are selling ounces for $75 because of the competitive nature are also complaining that they basically feel like there's a 40% tax on adult use cannabis. You've got a 15% excise tax, and instead of a 22% sales tax, the sales tax on adult use is 22%. So 22 plus 15 gets you to 37%. And that's what my clients saying, we're eating this 40% tax. I was at a dispensary today giving a tour to an out-of-state client, and all the postings on the board were, $25 for an eighth includes sales tax. So the retailers and the cultivators really feel that they have to eat that sales tax to stay competitive in our market of falling prices. The other big wrinkle on as medical goes to adult use is, what is the minimum age to purchase? So in Colorado, you have to be 21 to purchase cannabis, but you can get a medical card and buy cannabis at 18 when you have a medical card. So that's a big driver.
Illinois is 21 and 21, but I see where that could be an issue. Yeah.
Over in Boulder, where the university is, a lot of the students have their medical card because that's the only way they can buy cannabis from age 18 to 21 legally. That is
right. That works out just fine. I hate to say it, but it's a far cry from the way we used to get cannabis when we were back in college in the early 1980s. Kind of like night and day situation. Instead of worrying, can I even find somebody who will sell it to me? And I hope it's not dirt from outside. Right? College kids are going in and they're buying the best stuff around.
Yeah, my out-of-state client was very impressed and amazed at the variety of strains and all the different products that she could buy. I joked with her. I said, it's kind of like going to Disneyland, isn't it?
The first time I walked into a Colorado dispensary in 2014, at some point, I did exactly what I said. I said, it's like I died and gone to Disneyland. Look at this. This is just unbelievable. Who would ever imagine that you could walk into a store just as an adult, just show them an ID and in you go. And they're not just selling it, but you can see it and it's there and it's, try this, try that. It's really something. And I think it's going to be a big, big hit in Illinois. We're very, very excited about it, both from the financial perspective, which also includes, and I know you guys have a lot of this cannabis tourism. I have to keep telling everybody that although it's a very tempting idea, you're probably not, in fact, you're not going to be able to go to that adult use dispensary and pick up a pre-roll of Cubby Kush and take it out to the bleachers in Wrigley Field. You might have a little bit of a problem if you do that.
Yeah, we don't have any public consumption, and I don't kind of running out of our allotted time slot here, but we have a very pro-cannabis governor right now, Jared Polis, and somebody was explaining to me all the bills that he is signing into law this month that'll take effect July 1st. So we're going to have publicly traded companies can buy Colorado cannabis companies. Looks like we're going to get on-site consumption. And then there was several other just sort of technical correction bills, but those were the big ones. And I said to this politician who was telling me about this, I said, were there any marijuana bills that came to the legislature this session, which ended in May, that the governor didn't sign, that didn't make it? And he thought for a minute, he goes, no, actually, all the cannabis bills that came through the legislature looks like they're going to be signed and passed into law. So, another big one is University of Colorado Pueblo is going to open a true research and development center that's going to be funded by the state government. So Colorado is continuing to emerge as a leader in the business side of cannabis and also the scientific study of cannabis. And very glad to see Colorado doing that.
No, that's great stuff. And I'm going to want to follow up with you perhaps in a future episode and talk more about this on-site consumption and, public consumption, because I'll tell you, nothing has even happened here yet other than the announcement. I've already had 3 clients call me. They want to open up a smoking lounge. Well, you can't do that under the Illinois law just yet, but people are looking that far down the road and see that coming, and that could change the way we go out and recreate.
Yeah, whenever we talk about on-site consumption, well, of course, public safety, driving's an issue, but not with Uber and Lyft. There's no reason to drive if you're impaired on any substance. But people point out to me that I believe I have the number correct, that 40% of alcohol sales are on-site consumption in bars and restaurants and sporting events. So it's a huge new potential business opportunity to have this on-site consumption.
I think it'll be great. It'll be, to be able to go and do it anywhere, that you could otherwise, congregate and recreate and relax. And listen, I'm hoping that it's going to happen soon enough for me to be able to go out and really enjoy it.
Yep. So as we come to the end of our show here, Larry, ask me about the next show I'm going to go to at Red Rocks.
Well, I was just about to do that, Jim, because I have a suspicion that I know where you're going. So please tell us.
Well, for many years, the last weekend of June, we get 3 Widespread Panic shows at Red Rocks: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the Sunday is kind of a get out of town. It starts at 5 or 6 p.m. This year it's 6 p.m. So they do their usual 3-hour show, and you're out of there by 9:30, 10 o'clock. So it's not the get home after midnight that most Red Rock shows are. I mean, Phil played till like almost 11:30 last week p.m. So Panic will be done about 9:30 or 10. And I really enjoyed the Sunday. They call it the matinee because most of the show is in broad daylight. And we have some pictures, I think, that'll get posted up with the show I did last week from Red Rocks, showing how pretty and how wonderful it is to see a band in broad daylight at Red Rocks in the late afternoon, early evening.
No, it's my time spent out at Red Rocks was magical and beautiful and a lifetime's worth of memories. It's the type of venue that really turns any show into a special show just because of where you are and the surroundings. But I will tell you this. I know that we primarily like to talk about the dead and fish, and that's all good and dandy. But Widespread Panic, and there's going to be a lot of people who will sit up and say, not me, and I know that's true. But Widespread Panic, at least for, I would say, people of my generation, is probably one of the better kept secrets of the music world. And, that not as many of my friends, it seems, are as excited or as on board to go see Widespread as they would be some of these other bands. But I happened to see Widespread Panic for the first time, probably about 5 years ago, down at Jazz Fest in New Orleans, and was blown away. And said, why haven't I been going to see these guys? And now, it's anytime they come to the Chicago area, I'm definitely on board for as many shows as I can get to. And, they've taken the Grateful Dead Fish model and, carved out their own niche with it, right, with long, crazy jams and good stuff that, you can tell me what you think. But for me, the highlight of a great Widespread show are the eclectic covers that they come up with.
Including the J.J. Cale song, Traveling Light.
Yes.
Which is one of their standards, but it actually is a J.J. Cale song. It's not an original Widespread Panic song. Yeah, much like the Grateful Dead and Fish, it's very difficult to get Widespread Panic unless you actually go and see them. As Paige McConnell of Fish recently said, you have to come see us if you want to understand what we do. He said, I can still walk down the street and nobody knows who I am. You have to be in the same room as us to get what we do. It's very true of Widespread Panic. You just don't get that band until you see them. And I've been fortunate enough, I've done a little newspaper work over the years, and I've got to interview John Bell and David Schools. And, David Schools is certainly one of the great, bass players in rock and roll today. He's another one that can just fill up Red Rocks with that big 6-string modulus.
Yep, David. Well, David Schools himself can almost fill up Red Rocks, but that's a whole other story.
Right, he's a big man. He's a big man.
He's a big man. But he stands up there, and boy, he just belts it out. And I have to tell you, Jimmy Herring is one of my all-time favorite guitar players. And
he's a great one.
I can't get enough of that guy.
He never sings. Jimmy Herring never sings. I don't know if he does have much of a voice, but and then
in 2002. The Grateful Dead, post Jerry, had their first official quote-unquote Terrapin family reunion at Alpine Valley up in Wisconsin. And, they had these 2 all-day events with all sorts of other bands. And then both nights, this new revitalized, whatever they were calling themselves at the time, the Dead reunion, they got up there on the stage and came out and just pranked. And I was going to tell you what song they played, and now I can't even remember. But it was.
Okay,
I know what I was. Yeah, I know. It was one of those things. But this live music and everything is absolutely wonderful.
So anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing Widespread Panic here at the end of this month, and then of course July 5th and 6th will be the 2 Folsom shows at CU Boulder to finish Dead and Company summer tour. I've heard a little bit of it. They're playing pretty good. John Mayer is really playing some blues. They're breaking out some old Pigpen songs. like Hard to Handle. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones they've been doing recently in this current tour. But John Mayer's really stepping out, and
I'll be seeing them 1 week from tonight at Wrigley Field. Here's what I was going to tell you before. We went to that show up in Wisconsin. Jimmy Herring was the lead guitar player for them. And I thought that at the end of the 2 nights that I saw them, that he stole the show from all of them. You know, they had him up on stage with all these other guys and Bobby, and it was great to see them all. And I couldn't take my eyes off of Jimmy Herring all night. Just standing there. Other than the fact that he didn't sing, it was just like Jerry.
Right. Well, and just to bring some of the other people who aren't as familiar with Widespread Panic, the reason Jimmy Herring is in the band is one of their founding members and lead guitarist, Michael Hauser, died at a very young age of cancer. He died in 2002. I don't even know if he was 50 years old yet. And so it left a huge void. It could have brought that band to its knees and had them fold up their tent. But they persevered on. And after a few different tries with lead guitar players, Jimmy Herring has been part of the band now for probably a good 10 years.
Yeah, yep. And like I say, it just adds a whole nother dimension to them. And, I'm already envious of you because as much as I'd love to see him, I can't get out to Colorado that weekend. But keep the musical theme in Red Rocks going. I will be at Red Rocks at the end of July to see Tedeschi Trucks.
Excellent. I'll look forward to seeing that with you.
So, well, this is great, man. I love this stuff, and hope you have a great time at those shows, and lots of good stuff going on.
I'm off to New Orleans on Monday for the big MJBulls conference down there, which they're doing. One thing that's really interesting this year, they're doing a simultaneous, almost the same size event in the same convention center for hemp. So hemp and CBD sweeping the country. Yeah. It's a craze. You see it everywhere. I just came back from Missouri, which we'll talk about on the next show. But driving around Missouri, we saw these really large CBD stores. Yep. They got it going on down there, too. It's a whole new world, buddy. All right. Well, I think we're at the end of our time slot, so we'll go ahead and sign off for the Deadhead Cannabis Show. Very good. Thank you, Jim. Larry Mishkin here with my good friend Jim Marty, and we will look forward to talking to you guys again next week. Over and out.